Okay, so now that the cleanup's over, I can move on to the next step, and the next step is painting the ceiling. Now, it's not always necessary to repaint the ceiling on a project like this, but we are choosing to take that extra step in this case because previous owner of this house, whenever they remodeled and painted this area of the house, they did a really bad job painting the ceiling. There's a lot of bare spots and brush strokes. It just doesn't look very good. So we're going to take that extra time and take that extra step of repainting the ceiling to get that freshened up and looking good. And the reason that I'm starting with painting the ceiling instead of starting with the walls is because we are going to be, doing a feature wall here and repainting the rest of the walls and, doing wainscoting down here and redoing the flooring at some point. I really don't need to worry about masking things and taping things off that much because, well, it doesn't really matter if I get a little paint splattered on the wall or dripped on the floor. We're going to be redoing it anyway, so it'll save me a little bit of time by starting at the top and then working my way down. So if you end up doing a project similar to this, think of that each step. What step should you do first? What step is going to save you the most time by doing first and second and third? And since we're doing a top to bottom remodel, including the floor, makes the most sense to start at the top and work our way down so that gravity's not working against us with things dripping. But before I can get started painting, I do need to do a little work on the ceiling. I'm going to remove some of the ceiling lights, kind of tape those off. Got some old plant hangers, those are going to go. Patch a few holes, a few things like that. I am going to do a little bit of taping and masking because I don't want to get paint everywhere. Definitely don't want to get any paint on the window. I am only going to do about 2/3 of the ceiling. I'm going to stop just beyond the kitchen and do the second half of the ceiling in the kitchen when we get into the kitchen a little bit later. So I'm not really too worried about that right now. All right, that's enough talking about it. Let's get this party started. The number one most important painting tip I have to share with you is this. Remove as many items from the walls or ceiling as possible. Light fixtures, electrical outlet cover plates, trim, so on. If you want professional results and clean lines, remove them. Don't try to mask them off with tape. You will invariably miss spots, paint will bleed through onto the item, and you may end up basically gluing that item to the wall or ceiling with paint. Don't do it. Take the time to remove these items before you paint. You'll be much happier with the results. This item I'm removing is an old non-functioning hardwired smoke detector. I have since upgraded the smoke detectors in the house, so this smoke detector will be eliminated, but I will still need to address the live electrical wiring. This is very important when removing electrical items. Be sure to turn off the electrical circuit before removal and use a non-contact voltage tester to verify the electricity is off. Click the link here for tips on turning off electrical circuits. I thought about utilizing this wiring to install another ceiling light, but it's in an odd location. So for now, I'll just cap the electrical wiring and install a round ceiling box cover. Maybe someday I'll figure out something more useful to install here. If you have a shallow electrical box like this, it's best to cover it with masking tape. Using a putty knife will help in cutting the end of the masking tape clean and square, like the cutting strip on a roll of aluminum foil. Plus, you can use it to smooth and press the tape firmly onto the surface. For a round opening like this, cover the entire opening with tape, then cut around the circular edge, leaving just enough tape to stick to the surface. The item you're installing should be quite a bit larger than the opening, so any paint lines will be covered when you reinstall later. For the windows and doors, loosely covering with plastic sheeting is all that is really required. The goal is just to prevent any drips from landing on the window or door. Cut a piece of plastic sheeting large enough to cover the door or window, drive a few staples in with a staple gun to hold it in place, then run a line of masking tape along the top and at least partly down both sides. Done. If you have any holes from removing items like the plant hangers that were here, a little bit of spackling will make those holes disappear. If the holes are very small, you can probably get away with just one coat. For slightly larger holes like these, you may need to do 2 or 3 coats. I like to overfill these larger holes, creating a slight mound that sits proud of the surface. Spackling can shrink when it dries, leaving a divot where the hole used to be if you apply the spackling dead flat with the surface. Building up a slight mound will prevent a divot from forming, and you can then just sand it flat before painting. I have one more money-saving and eco-friendly tip for you when it comes to putting up plastic sheeting. You don't need to cut the sheeting down so it fits perfectly over whatever you are trying to cover. Leave it full width. and just fold it back on itself down to the size you need, securing it in place with tape. This way you won't end up with a bunch of scrap cut-off pieces that you'll just have to throw away, and a bunch of custom-sized cut-down pieces that only fit certain things. You'll instead have full-size pieces of sheeting you can remove and reuse on another project. Okay, that's it for tonight. I've got just about everything ready. It's all tarped off, ready to go. We're ready to paint. I was thinking about starting tonight, but it's a little bit late, and I think I'll just let it ride because tomorrow, we roll. I think tonight I'll just let it ride because tomorrow, we roll. And for tonight, I think I'll just let it ride because tomorrow, we roll. I think I'll just let it ride because tomorrow, we roll. Because tomorrow, we roll. Do that one more time. Because tomorrow, we roll.